Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the THW NHL News and Rumors Rundown. My name is Jim Parsons. I'm here with the HockeyWriters.com. It is Saturday, May 15th today. Another week episode of news and rumors to go through. The regular season is pretty much done and over with in the NHL. The playoffs are about to begin, and there's lots to talk about. But a quick reminder before we get into that, you can go to the Hockey Radar on Twitter. You can follow us at the facebook.com/the Hockey Raiders page. And of course, HockeyWriters.com. You can check out the latest news and rumors. I put up a post every day so you can keep up to date with what's happening in the news and rumors world in the NHL. Let's get into some of the things that happened this past week. We're going to start with Jack Eichel. That's the big story coming out of Buffalo. He did a media availability on Monday where he said he's basically at disconnect with the Buffalo Sabres. He has an injury issue that he's dealing with, a herniated disc in his neck. He wants to get what many people are calling exploratory surgery, something that's never been done on an NHL player before. The Buffalo Sabres are not at all comfortable with that. They don't really even want him doing surgery at all. They'd like him to rehab the injury and see if he can come back healthy and ready to go. These guys are not on the same page. Kevin Adams spoke to the media, the general manager for Buffalo, and said, look, our medical experts have told him, and we've talked with their medical experts. Everybody was on the same page going into the offseason. Lots of communication between the two sides, but all of a sudden Jack Eichel just doesn't seem very happy anymore, and he wants to maybe move on. He hasn't officially asked for a trade at all, but he doesn't seem happy to stay in Buffalo. He doesn't believe that the team was honest with him about what they want him to do. It's kind of a mess. So he's not the only one. Sam Reinhart is looking to maybe move on. Rasmus Ristolainen is not very happy in Buffalo. There's going to be some major changes with the Sabres, and it's probably going to start with Jack Eichel. There's going to be at least 10 teams probably looking at him. The New York Rangers seem to be the headliners and the front runners here. Whether or not they have the pieces to make the move or are willing to do so, they're going to have a lot of salary cap issues to take care of. But then again, so will every team, because Eichel's a $10 million player for another 5 seasons. His no trade kicks in just before the 2022 season. So if there's going to be a move, it's going to be happening pretty soon. Probably this offseason if the Buffalo Sabres and Eichel can't come on the same page here. So we'll see where this goes. Speaking of the New York Rangers, lots of news still coming out of that organization. Jeff Gordon was released as a GM. John Davidson was released. David Quinn has now been terminated as the head coach. Brian Leetch has left the organization. Chris Jury's already doing interviews. He's talked to at least one candidate, Gerard Gallant, and we'll get into that one in a second, but there's going to be a number of interviews here for that open head coaching position, and it sounds like the Rangers want to go with somebody who's experienced, not a rookie head coach in the NHL. Now, could that mean John Tortorella? Because John Tortorella is not coming back to Columbus. He and the organization have parted ways, which makes a lot of sense, even though GM Jarmo Kekalainen would have said he'd like to keep Tortorella around, and all the players seem to like George Tortorella, at least that's what they're saying. He's decided to move on, and the Blue Jackets are letting that happen. So he's going to look for another coaching gig, whether it's New York or not. We don't think it will be, but he's going to get somewhere else. But Gerard Gallant was interviewed by the Rangers. More of this was a timing thing, not so much that they've identified him as the primary target or the number one contender, if you will, for the head coaching position. But he was going off to do the Hockey Canada thing. So before he headed over to Latvia, he needed to get the interview done. Sounds like it went pretty well. We'll see if there's any more that comes of that. But the Rangers will interview a lot of people, and Gallant will probably interview with more than just the Rangers if he's interested in head coaching job. Patrik Laine news coming out of Columbus. He has spoken about his struggles this season, and he's taken responsibility for a lot of it. He's asked to stick around after the season, work with a strength and conditioning coach. But Jarmo Kekalainen has said he thinks Laine could rebound, but he's also been reports laying out of The Athletic that says Kekalainen and the Blue Jackets are willing to trade Laine, and maybe more willing to do so now than they were at the NHL trade deadline, mostly because some of the people within that organization don't believe that Laine is going to be the guy you invest in long term. Body language, regressing in terms of his play, things like that, attitude. They just don't know if he's the guy, and some people are saying let's move on. So we'll see if anything comes of that, but it's quite interesting that Laine would come out and publicly say he wants to stick around, and then behind the scenes it sounds like the Blue Jackets are willing to move him. Of course, there's lots of questions in Columbus. Seth Jones, the defenseman, he may or may not stick around. He's got one more year left in his contract, but he said he wants to take some time, step back, think about what he wants to do. That would be a huge blow if the Blue Jackets can't keep Seth Jones on their blue line. Phil Kessel rumors out of Arizona. He's probably going to be shopped. The GM, Bill Armstrong, is looking to get draft picks back. He wants to get prospects. Kessel's on the final year of his deal. He's got part of his salary paid for by Toronto. If his signing bonus is paid, he's only a $1 million player, so there should be a lot of people interested in picking him up, and he can still produce offensively. I don't know that Arizona is the best fit for Kessel. It doesn't mean he's going to necessarily be moved, but it could be one of those things where at least Arizona is going to try, see what they can get, if anything, and then we'll go from there and see what else Arizona does. Lots of news coming out of Edmonton. Adam Larson and general manager Ken Holland have talked a lot, and it sounds like they're pretty close on maybe a 4-year deal, maybe 3-4 years. 4 to 4.25 million is the rumored number that might be out there. It sounds like the Oilers have made Larson a priority on their blue line over a guy like Tyson Barrie, who is going to test the free agent market. He has decided that he's going to just see what's out there, what kind of long-term deal he can get, if he can get much higher number than Edmonton gave him this year and what he was willing to pay for just to up his totals, because he did finish the end of the regular season as a defenseman with the top point getters in the NHL. So he's probably earned the right to go check and see what he's worth. It doesn't mean that he won't come back to Edmonton. The two sides will probably talk, but there's going to have to be a deal there because the Oilers aren't really willing to go above a certain price point. They've got Evan Bouchard coming along. They've got Ethan Bear on the right side. If they re-sign Adam Larson, that right side is covered. Then, of course, you got Darnell Nurse on the left. Maybe Oscar Klefbom if he returns. Possibly a guy like Dmitry Kulikov if you re-sign him. So the Oilers are doing pretty good in terms of their defense. And if you've got Klefbom coming back, you don't necessarily need Barrie to run your power play. So we'll see what happens there. If both sides really want to get something done and Barrie's okay with the idea that he would take a lot less and maybe do a little bit of a shorter deal in Edmonton, he might stay. But chances are he's going to get a bigger offer somewhere else and move into that role. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week. Don't forget, you can check out thehockeyraiders.com and all the news and rumors reports on the website. And enjoy the playoffs because they're going to kick off this weekend. There's lots of good action, lots of good matchups. I'm, of course, looking forward to the Oilers versus the Winnipeg Jets because that's the team that I cover mostly. But there's lots of good action, and I'm very interested to see what happens between like Boston and Washington. Should be a fun series. All right, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Chat with you next Saturday. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy some playoff hockey.